Hello, students. Good morning. Students, I hope you all are well and studying properly at home. So, students, today we are going to start our 10th chapter, that is respiration in organisms, and this is the first part of this chapter. So, students, in this part, we will study about these topics, that is respiration, phases of respiration, in which we will study about external respiration or breathing, then breathing rate, and internal respiration or cellular respiration. Then we will see types of respiration, in which we will study about aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So, first we will see respiration. Students, as we know that we need energy for everything. Everything means we need energy for walking, for running or climbing, for washing clothes, for cooking food, for cycling, for reading, for eating, for writing, or for sleeping also. For all these purposes, we need energy. Even the processes that takes place inside our body, as digestion of food, beating of heart, or movement of our ribs or diaphragm, or stretching of muscles, for all that processes which are taking place inside our body also, for all these processes also we need energy. Means we need energy for the working of the organs associated with these processes which are taking place inside our body. Means suppose we are talking about digestion, so we know that the process of digestion takes place in the digestive system. So for the working of digestive system, for working start from, suppose we are talking about digestive system, so we know that the first part of digestive system is our mouth, our buccal cavity. So when we take the food inside our mouth, we need to chew it. So for that purpose also, for chewing of the food also, we need energy. And when that food passes to the next parts of digestive system, from esophagus to stomach to small intestine and large intestine, so all the processes which are taking place in that parts, for all that working of these associated parts of digestive system, we need energy. So for all that processes which are taking place inside our body, we need energy. Okay, so means we need energy to perform all the activities which maintain our life, and for doing work also. And we all know that we get this energy from the food that we eat. So we know that food has stored energy, because we have studied in photosynthesis that when plants perform photosynthesis for making their food, so their light energy get converted into chemical energy, and that food is utilized by human beings or for other animals also. So our food stored some chemical energy. So this stored energy of food is released slowly during the process of respiration, which takes place inside our body all the time. Yes, all the time means even when we are sleeping also, at that time also that process of respiration takes place. So it is this energy which is utilized in carrying out all the life processes and for doing our work also. So respiration is essential because it provides us energy from the food that we eat and digest. So all the living organisms need to respire to get energy from the food which is required for their survival, for doing different works also. And this food contains energy, and that energy is utilized by us for performing various processes, for performing various purposes. So many times you have seen that your parents insist you for having food at regular time regularly. This is because that food is like a fuel, and that fuel which provide us energy to maintain our life or to stay healthy. So not only this is not important for human beings only, that respiration process is important for all other animals as well as for plants also. So So respiration process can be defined as the process which involves taking in oxygen into the cells to release energy by burning food and then remove the waste products, carbon dioxide and water from the body. And students, respiration can be written as glucose plus oxygen. Glucose plus oxygen means glucose is reacting with oxygen, or glucose is burning in the presence of oxygen, and it produces carbon dioxide, water and energy. Means respiration is the process in which we take oxygen into the cell. We take oxygen from the environment into the cell, then we release energy by burning food, and then we remove the waste products from the body. So this process is called respiration. But students, respiration process has two phases in biology. Means when we will study respiration in detail, then we will see it consists of two phases. First one, where food is oxidized, means where oxygen is required to burn the food. Food is oxidized to produce energy, to release energy. And second phase, where we take oxygen from the environment and we release carbon dioxide. We return carbon dioxide into the environment. So we can say that respiration has two phases. So that respiration can be divided into two phases, that is external respiration or breathing, and internal respiration or cellular respiration. Okay, students, now we will see first phase of respiration, that is external respiration or breathing. So, as we know that we can survive without water or without food for many days, but we cannot survive without air just for more than a few minutes. This is because air is very, very important. Air is very essential for our breathing process. And in that process, what we do, we take oxygen, means we take oxygen rich air into our lungs through our nose, and then we expelled out the carbon dioxide rich air through our nose. So simply we can define the process of breathing as the process by which an organism take in oxygen from its atmosphere or from environment and releases carbon dioxide. This process is called external respiration or breathing. Or we can say that when we take oxygen, so oxygen is present in air, so we can also define the process of breathing as a process by which an organism takes in oxygen rich air and expelled out carbon dioxide rich air. That process is called external respiration or breathing. Means the process through which we take oxygen rich air inside our body and remove carbon dioxide rich air from expelled out this air from our body. That process is called external respiration or breathing. And different organisms have different type of breathing organs, and their oxygen requirement is also differs. That is why different organisms have different organs for breathing, okay, depending upon their structure and their oxygen requirement. So as we know that in breathing in human beings takes place through organs called lungs. Means there is a full developed system which is respiratory system, and there is a specific organs for the process of breathing. And except human beings, other organisms and plants also, they have well developed systems. Means they having a system for breathing, or we can say for gases exchange. So in amoeba, all of you are knowing that unicellular organism. So in amoeba, the exchange of gases takes place through its entire body surface. Then fish breathes through gills. Then earthworms and leeches, in them exchange of gases takes place through their moist and slimy skin. Then in frogs too, breathing is carried out through the skin. Then insects breathe with the help of air tubes or trachea. Then reptiles, birds and mammals, including human beings, breathe through their respiratory system, and that respiratory organ is called lungs. Then When we talk about plants, so all we know about is stomata, the tiny pores which are present on the surface of leaves. That tiny pores are called stomata. So in plants, that breathing process or exchange of gases takes place through that tiny pores called stomata. Now, the process of breathing involves two steps. First one is inhalation, which is also called as inspiration, and second one is exhalation, which is also called as expiration. So, the taking in of air rich in oxygen into the body during the breathing process, this process is called inhalation. Means the process of taking in air rich in oxygen, it is called inhalation. And then the air which is rich in carbon dioxide is expelled out or giving out. This process is called exhalation. Means the process of releasing air rich in carbon dioxide, this process is called exhalation. So both inhalation and exhalation takes place regularly during breathing, and a breathe means one inhalation plus one exhalation. Okay, so we know that air contains oxygen. So when we breathe in air, actually the oxygen gas which is present in air, which is utilized by our body to break down foods and to produce energy. And when that food is oxidized, then carbon dioxide is released, and that carbon dioxide is expelled out from the body. So both processes, inhalation and exhalation, together they make the process of breathing. Now, next process is breathing rate. So, breathing rate means the number of times a person breathes in a minute. Breathe means one inhalation and one exhalation. So both processes makes breathe, one breathe. So the number of time a person breathes in a minute, that process is called breathing rate. For a normal individual, the breathing rate at rest is 15 to 18 times per minute. Breathing rate is not constant, it varies according to the requirement of oxygen by the body. And the requirement of oxygen depends upon the physical activities. Breathing rate increases during heavy exercise, or when someone is running fast or doing some vigorous work. It may go up to 25 times per minute. And breathing rate slows down during sleep. Faster breathing during heavy physical activity produces more energy. As a result of faster breathing, more oxygen becomes available to the body cells, and more food is broken down to produce more energy. Now we can say, now we can see the composition of inspired air and expired air. Means inhaled air and exhaled air. So there is a comparison of air before and after breathing. So when we see oxygen, so we all know that in atmosphere, the air which we take from atmosphere, in which 21% of oxygen is present. So in inspired air, you can see 21% oxygen is present. But in expired air, means in exhaled air, it is present in 16%, because that 5% of oxygen is used by our cells in the process of respiration. Now we all know about carbon dioxide. 0.03% carbon dioxide is present in atmosphere, and that air only we are taking during the process of inspiration or inhalation. So in inspired air, 0.03% of carbon dioxide is present, but when we exhale air, in our exhaled air or expired air, 4% of carbon dioxide is present, because that carbon dioxide is produced by the process of respiration. So carbon dioxide is produced by the cells as a waste products of respiration. So that 4% of carbon dioxide is removed during the process of exhalation. Then nitrogen gas, we know 78% of nitrogen is present in atmosphere, and that nitrogen gas is not used by our cells. That is why 78% of nitrogen is present in the inhaled air as well as exhaled air. And then When we talk about water content, so we know that the amount of water, means amount of moisture, is variable in the atmosphere. It varies from place to place. So when we take that air in which water content is present, the amount of water content in inspired air varies. But when we exhale it, then there's always high amount of water content is present, because as we know, when the process of respiration takes place, along with energy and carbon dioxide, water is also produced. So water is also produced as a waste product which get evaporated and came out as in the exhaled air. So this is all about the comparison of air before and after breathing. Now students, now we will see second phase of respiration, that is external respiration or cellular respiration. So before starting this cellular respiration or internal respiration, I just want to remind you that we have studied about digestion process, in which we have studied that the food we eat is digested. Digested means that bigger or larger food molecules are broken down into smaller and simpler units, and that simpler units means that digested nutrients, digested food is get diffused in the blood, and that blood distribute all that digested nutrients to all cells of our body. Now one more thing we have studied in this chapter only, that is breathing, in which we have studied that we take oxygen rich air in our body. So that oxygen rich air also means that oxygen also distributed to all the cells of our body by blood. It means that our cells are now they're having digested nutrients as well as oxygen. Now the next phase of respiration, means internal respiration or cellular respiration, can take place, because now our cells have digested nutrients as well as oxygen. So we can define the process of respiration or the process of internal respiration as the process which releases energy from food, which takes place inside the cells of body, and that process is called cellular respiration or internal respiration. Means the process of breakdown of food in the cells with the release of energy is called cellular respiration or internal respiration, because it occurs inside the cells of organism. And this respiration process takes place all the time as long as an organism lives, and it is taken as an index of life, because no respiration means no life. This respiration, means cellular respiration, is a biochemical process in which food molecules are broken down into carbon dioxide and water, and it takes place in human beings, all other animals, as well as in plants. And the simple equation for the cellular respiration or internal respiration is glucose plus oxygen. Means glucose is getting oxidized, or glucose is burned, or glucose is reacting with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So energy is the main thing in this process. Carbon dioxide and water, they are produced as waste products. After that, we will study about types of cellular respiration. So before this, we should know about the basic differences between breathing and cellular respiration. Means we should know about the differences between external respiration and internal respiration. So we have studied about breathing. So breathing is a physical process in which oxygen is taken and carbon dioxide is given out. Whereas cellular respiration is a biochemical process in which glucose is oxidized to carbon dioxide and water. We know that in external respiration or breathing, this process consumes energy. Means for the this process of breathing, we need energy. Whereas in cellular respiration or internal respiration, we are knowing that energy is produced. Breathing process is extracellular process, means it is taking place outside the cell, whereas cellular respiration, it is an intracellular process, means it takes place inside the cell. Then in breathing process, enzymes are not used. Enzymes are a type of protein, so enzymes are not used in breathing, whereas in cellular respiration, enzymes are used. So when you will go in higher classes, when you will study that respiration in detail, then you will see lots of enzymes are also present, which help in the process of cellular respiration. Now we will see the types of respiration. So there are two types of respiration, that is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So first we will see aerobic respiration. So the respiration which uses oxygen, aerobic means air, presence of air. Air means oxygen. So the respiration which uses oxygen is called aerobic respiration. Means in other words, we can say when the breakdown of glucose, means food, or we can say glucose, occurs with the use of oxygen, then this type of respiration is called aerobic respiration. And this type of respiration releases a large amount of energy. It is called aerobic respiration because it uses air which contains oxygen. Aerobic means with air, means in the presence of oxygen. So in aerobic respiration, the food, or we can say glucose we can say, because glucose is the smallest unit of food. So glucose is generally broken down, and in the process of digestion, we have studied that different type of nutrients are broken down into different nutrients, smaller particles. So carbohydrates, they are broken down into glucose. Proteins are broken down into amino acids. Fats are broken down into fats, and fatty acids and glycerol. So all that nutrients are involved in the process of respiration, but here we will study about glucose. So glucose, or we can say food, is completely broken down. It is completely broken down in the process of aerobic respiration, and after breakdown of glucose, it produces carbon dioxide and water with the use of oxygen, and a large amount of energy is released. So we can see the equation glucose plus oxygen. Here formula is also there, C6H12O6. This is a formula of glucose. It reacts with oxygen, means O2, and then it is producing energy plus carbon dioxide, that is CO2, and water, that is H2O. So this is the chemical reaction of aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means when the respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen with the release of large amount of energy, then this process is called aerobic respiration. And the energy released during aerobic respiration is that energy is used by organism, and most of the living organisms carried out this aerobic respiration, means by using oxygen of which is present in air. So most of the animals, means humans and green plants also, they respire in the presence of oxygen. That is why they are called aerobes, means the organism which respire aerobically, or we can say in the presence of oxygen. That type of organisms are called aerobes. So all the organisms which obtain energy by aerobic respiration, they are aerobes, and they cannot live without oxygen, means they cannot live without air. And this is because if there is no oxygen, they cannot get energy from the food what they eat. And aerobic respiration produces much more energy because complete breakdown of glucose or food takes place during aerobic respiration by the use of oxygen, means that glucose is completely broken down, and after complete breakdown of that glucose, they form carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So aerobic respiration means the process of respiration which takes place in the presence of oxygen, which with the release of a large amount of energy. This process is called aerobic respiration. Now we will see second type of respiration, that is anaerobic respiration. So respiration which takes place without using oxygen, that respiration is called anaerobic respiration. Means we can say when the breakdown of glucose or food occurs without the use of oxygen, that type of respiration is called anaerobic respiration. So it is called anaerobic respiration because it takes place without air or without oxygen. Okay, and the organisms in which this respiration takes place, this anaerobic respiration takes place, that organisms are called anaerobes. So anaerobic respiration takes place in microorganisms like yeast. All of you knowing about yeast. Yeast is a fungus. So yeast break down glucose in the absence of oxygen and it forms alcohol. You can see the chemical equation of anaerobic respiration where glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen to form alcohol, carbon dioxide plus energy. So here you can see C6H12O6. This is the formula of glucose. It is broken down in the absence of oxygen and it forms alcohol, that is C2H5OH. This is ethyl alcohol plus CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and energy. So this is the anaerobic respiration which is generally performed by yeast. Yeast are fungus and some bacteria also. They also perform anaerobic respiration and they form ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide, and energy. One more thing, students, as we have seen in aerobic respiration, that where glucose is completely broken down in carbon dioxide and water with the release of large amount of energy. Here in anaerobic respiration, oxygen is absent, so glucose is broken down into alcohol and carbon dioxide, but not completely. Partial breakdown of glucose takes place in the alcohol and carbon dioxide with the release of very small amount of energy. So here in anaerobic respiration, oxygen or air is absent. Now students, we will see anaerobic respiration in muscles. So as we know that we get energy by aerobic respiration, because in aerobic respiration large amount of energy is produced and that energy is utilized by our body cells to do all the work. But due to certain conditions, our body requires some extra energy for short period of time. Thus our muscle cells start respiring anaerobically just for a short time when there's a temporary deficiency of oxygen. Suppose we are doing heavy exercise or fast running or cycling or walking for many hours or heavy weightlifting. In that time demand of energy is high but the supply of oxygen to produce the energy is limited, and in that case our muscle cells start respiring anaerobically to fulfill the demand of energy. And in that case the glucose which is present in our muscle cells, it start broken down, but it is partially broken down. As we have seen in aerobic respiration, glucose is completely broken down, but in anaerobic respiration glucose is partially broken down to here. So here also in our muscle cells, just in order to get energy, glucose is partially broken down into lactic acid with some energy. And in that case, just because of this anaerobic respiration, our muscle cells produce energy to fulfill the demand of that extra energy. So here we can see this equation, chemical equation. In muscle cells glucose is present and it is partially broken down in the absence of oxygen to produce lactic acid plus energy, and this energy only is utilized by our muscle cells to perform that work. What happens sometimes during that weightlifting or heavy exercise or any heavy activity, we get muscle cramps. Cramps means we get painful contraction of muscles in our body. So that cramps occur when that muscle cells, they respire anaerobically, and they are producing lactic acid. So that lactic acid get accumulated or collected at the muscles, which causes muscle cramps. So partial breakdown of glucose produces this lactic acid, and just because of that, lactic acid get accumulated at the muscles, which causes muscle cramps. So we get relief from cramps after hot water bath or a massage. So what happens in that? Hot water bath or massage improves the circulation of blood, and as a result, the supply of oxygen to the muscle cells increases. And when the supply of oxygen increases, it results in the complete breakdown of lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. Means in that case, when oxygen was absent and muscle cells has to do anaerobic respiration, in that case glucose is produced. uh, Glucose is partially broken down into lactic acid and energy. And when we do hot water bath, when we take hot water bath or massage, which improves the circulation of blood, so in that case our cells get oxygen, and that oxygen again break down that lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. So this is the anaerobic respiration in our muscle cells. So now we can differentiate between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration also. So we know that aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, whereas anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. Now, aerobic respiration, food is completely broken down. Means in aerobic respiration, glucose or food is completely broken down into carbon dioxide and water. But in anaerobic respiration, glucose is partially broken down into alcohol or carbon dioxide. Then in anaerobic respiration, more energy is produced. In anaerobic respiration, less energy is produced. And aerobic respiration takes place in all organisms, mean in human beings and most of the animals, and in all plants, most of the plants also. But in anaerobic respiration, it takes place in some organisms as yeast, some bacteria, and muscle cells of human beings. Now we will see the differences between breathing and combustion. So, first of all, breathing is a slow process which occurs in a series of steps. Means we have seen breathing, two processes, two phases are, that is inhalation and exhalation. Whereas combustion is a fast process and it takes place in a single step. Then breathing, obviously breathing takes place in our body. It means breathing occurs at body temperature, that is 37 degrees Celsius, whereas combustion, it always occurs at high temperature. Then in breathing, energy is obtained in the form of chemical molecules, whereas in combustion, energy is produced in the form of heat and light energy. And then breathing is carried out by enzymes, and combustion is carried out by heat. So this is the difference between breathing and combustion. Now some understanding based questions are there. First one is name the process by which we get energy. Then what is breathing? What do you mean by breathing rate? What is cellular respiration? Name the products formed in the anaerobic respiration in our muscles, and why little amount of energy is produced during anaerobic respiration. So this is the first part of this chapter. Next topics of this chapter we will see in our next video. Do watch the video, and if any problems are there, then do comment in the comment section. Thank you, students.